Honda's been the gold standard in the family SUV game for years. Smooth, safe, and just plain easy to live with. But Mitsubishi's swinging back hard with the Outlander, packing more seats, more tech, and a plug-in twist that might just rattle the CR-V. Hello everyone, this is Scott from CarlandTV. It's time to hop in the front seat because today I am putting the 2025 Honda CR-V and Mitsubishi Outlander through a real-world family face-off to see which one truly earns its spot in your garage. Before I start, I would really appreciate it if you would push those buttons below. The subscribe button, the notification bell, all of them. This is not necessary, but those little clicks help a brother out. Plus, it pushes me to give you more valuable car-related content on your screen. Now buckle up, and let's get back to the video. If you're shopping for a family SUV in 2025, chances are the Honda CR-V and Mitsubishi Outlander are both on your radar. But picking the right one could save you a ton of stress and money down the road. I've driven both with the kids, gear, and coffee spills in real-world chaos, and trust me, the differences start showing quickly. This ain't just a spec sheet battle. It's about which SUV actually makes daily life easier. I pulled both of these into the driveway the other day, the 2025 Honda CR-V in Canyon River Blue, and a fresh 2025 Mitsubishi Outlander in that flashy white diamond. And man, they couldn't look more different standing side by side. If the CR-V is your quiet kid that cleans up nice for prom, the Outlander's the one that walks in wearing a custom-tailored suit with red stitching and doesn't care what anyone thinks. The CR-V's redesign from 2023 still carries into 2025, and honestly, it's aging like a fine bourbon. You get that clean, sculpted front fascia with a big gloss black grille, slim LED headlights, and just enough edge to make it look upscale without being shouty. The stance is solid, more SUV than before, and that longer hood gives it some presence. Honda's playing it safe, but smart, refined, and not boring. I had the Sport L hybrid trim, and the 18-inch gloss black alloys gave it just enough flavor to keep it from disappearing in a parking lot. Now, the Outlander, this thing's bold from the get-go. Mitsubishi leaned hard into the whole quote-unquote dynamic shield design, and while not everyone's gonna love the split headlight setup, I'll give it this. It makes a statement. The PHEV SEL I tested came with 20-inch two-tone wheels that look straight off a concept car. You've got strong character lines down the side, and that clamshell hood is not just for looks, it gives it a wider, tougher stance. Rear taillights are slick, and the roof rails plus contrast black accents give it an almost Euro vibe. So, which do I think turns more heads? In my experience, the Outlander got more attention, especially from folks into design. But if you want something that still looks sharp 5 years from now without drawing heat, the CR-V is the stealth pick. Both are clean, one's just louder about it. Climbing into the 2025 CR-V, the first thing I noticed is that Honda didn't go crazy with gimmicks. They stuck to what works. The dash is clean and horizontal, and those honeycomb-style air vents stretch across it like something you'd see in a more premium ride. Materials are solid, even in the mid-trim Sport L hybrid I tested. The seats are ultra-comfortable as hell. Honda nailed the bolstering and support. It got plenty of thigh support, and no backaches even after a 2-hour highway stint. Rear seat space is where the CR-V shows up with its A-game. I threw in a rear-facing car seat behind the passenger, and still had enough legroom up front for my over 6-foot buddy to ride without complaining. That's not easy to pull off. The rear bench also reclines a bit and has great visibility, which is great for teens or adults riding in the back. It's a genuine 5-seater without excuses. No third row, but honestly, it doesn't need it. Now flip over to the Outlander. You open that door and boom, Mitsubishi is obviously flexing. The quilted leather seats in the SEL trim are flashy, and the dash design has this upscale vibe that I honestly wasn't expecting from Mitsu. Everything looks sharp, with dual digital displays and real knobs where it counts. But, and it's a big one, the seats aren't quite as plush as the CR-V. A little firmer, especially in the back row. And yeah, about that third row. It's technically there, but it's a squeeze. I shoved myself back there just to try it out, and let's be real. It is clearly a kid-only territory. Maybe useful in a pinch, like when you're the designated carpool hero. But for daily use, it's more of a nice-to-have than a reason to buy. So if you're hauling 5 and want maximum comfort and practicality, CR-V takes it. But if that third row might save you now and then, Outlander's got the ace up its sleeve, even if it's a tight fit. In terms of features and tech, Honda's not the type to throw anything at the wall and see what sticks. They build stuff to work. My test unit, the Sport L Hybrid, had a 9-inch touchscreen, and it's clean, simple and mounted high up so you're not fishing around for info while driving. You get wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which, trust me, once you go wireless, you don't want to mess with cords again. The user interface isn't flashy, but it's responsive and easy to figure out. HVAC is still old school, thank God. It is big, clicky knobs you can twist with gloves on. Rear seat passengers get their own vents and 2 USB-C ports, which came in clutch during a road trip when both kids were nuking their iPads. Honda also threw in a digital driver display that's crisp and easy to customize. Nothing overly complex here, just well-executed stuff that works when you need it to. Now, swing over to the Outlander, and this is where Mitsu surprised me. You get a 12.3-inch digital cluster standard on higher trims and a 9-inch touchscreen that looks pretty slick. Wireless Apple CarPlay is here too. Android Auto's still wired for some reason, which is a bummer. The infotainment isn't quite as smooth as Honda's, but it's not clunky either. You've got a head-up display, multi-view cameras, and even a configurable center console that's got more storage options than most SUVs in this class. Rear seat tech in the Outlander is also solid. Rear vents, charging ports, and in the plug-in hybrid, you've got energy flow graphics that actually kept my kid entertained for 15 minutes. That's worth bonus points alone. And hey, Mitsubishi gives you a physical volume knob, which some brands are too cool for these days. I respect that. So, which one's the better tech ride? If you want clean, reliable, and well-integrated tech that doesn't fight you, the CR-V gets the nod. But if you like more flash, more screens, and a little extra wow factor, the Outlander flexes just a bit harder. Alright, let's talk about the performance of these two SUVs, and I want to start with the CR-V. I was in the hybrid version, which comes with a 2-liter 4-cylinder mated to 2 electric motors. Combined output is around 204 horsepower. Now on paper that might not sound thrilling, but behind the wheel, it's smooth. Real smooth. The electric torque gives you that instant push when you roll into the throttle at a stoplight. No lag, no issue. Just clean, efficient power delivery. Honda's using an eCVT in the hybrid, and while I'm not usually a fan of CVTs, this one's refined. No droning, no rubber band feel, it just works. Ride comfort is easily one of the CR-V's strong suits. It glides over crappy city streets and doesn't get unsettled on rough patches. Steering is light but precise enough for daily driving. You're not carving canyons, but that's not the point. This thing feels like it was designed by people who know exactly what you need in a commuter, and maybe a little extra for the weekend grocery run or soccer game haul. All-wheel drive is available, and it's more than enough for light snow and rain-soaked roads. Now let's jump in the Outlander plug-in hybrid. Under the hood, you've got a 2.4-liter gas engine paired with twin electric motors, one up front and one in the rear, pushing 248 horsepower and 332 pound-feet of torque combined. That torque figure is no joke. From a dead stop, it pulls hard in EV mode. It's also got super all-wheel control, which is Mitsubishi's fancy name for a torque vectoring AWD system, and honestly, it feels grippy as hell, especially in tight turns or slippery conditions. Ride quality's a bit firmer than the CR-V, but it feels planted. Heavier too because of the battery pack, but it's not sluggish. The PHEV setup means you can cruise around town on electric juice alone. It gives you up to 38 miles, and that's a huge win if your daily commute is short. So here's the deal. CR-V feels more like a traditional SUV with modern hybrid guts. The Outlander, on the other hand, is more ambitious. More power, more drive modes, and EV-only range. But you'll feel that extra weight. If you're chasing comfort and consistency, the CR-V is the better daily tool. If you want electric grunt and all-wheel drive confidence, Outlander brings it. For fuel economy, Honda claims 28 miles per gallon in the city and 34 miles per gallon on the highway with front-wheel drive, and around 27 miles per gallon in the city and 32 miles per gallon on the highway for the all-wheel drive version. And those numbers are pretty damn accurate. I averaged about 30 miles per gallon over a week of city and light highway driving. No complaints there. Now, the Outlander's rocking 24 miles per gallon in the city and 31 miles per gallon on the highway for front-wheel drive, and 24 miles per gallon in the city and 30 miles per gallon on the highway for all-wheel drive models. In my experience, I was getting about 26 to 27 miles per gallon combined. Not bad, but definitely thirstier than the CR-V, especially in stop-and-go traffic where the engine has to work harder. So this is my takeaway. If fuel savings are near the top of your list and you don't want to mess with chargers or plug-ins, the CR-V wins this one, hands down. It's just more efficient across the board, and that smaller turbo engine doesn't feel underpowered either. The Outlander's still respectable for its size and all-wheel drive capability, but if you've got a long commute or care about fuel bills over time, it'll cost you a bit more at the pump. I also have to note that the Honda CR-V just knows how to make cargo space feel bigger than the numbers say. Officially, you're looking at 39.3 cubic feet behind the rear seats. Drop the second row, and you get up to 76.5 cubic feet, and the floor is nice and low, which makes sliding in heavier gear way easier. The opening is wide and square, and the lift-over height is not going to break your back. I tossed in a medium-sized cooler, 2 camping chairs, and a stroller with plenty of room left. And the seat folding is smooth. Pull a single handle in the cargo bay and boom, seats drop flat. No weird angles, no yanking required. The underfloor storage is modest but enough for some jumper cables and a few roadside tools. Honda also gets credit for offering a reversible cargo mat on some trims, which is a lifesaver when you've got muddy boots or sandy beach gear. It's the kind of attention to detail you appreciate after you've been using the car for a few months. Now the Outlander, on paper, got less space behind the second row. It is around 33.5 cubic feet. But here's the twist. It's got that third row tucked in there, and when it's folded, the cargo floor isn't quite as deep or flat as the CR-V's. With all rows down, it opens up to 79.7 cubic feet, which technically beats the CR-V. But in real use, that third row hardware eats into floor depth and height, so stacking boxes or fitting wide loads gets tricky. The seat folding isn't as slick either. You gotta do it from the sides, and it takes a few more steps. That said, the Outlander does give you some bonus storage pockets and side cubbies that come in handy for keeping things from sliding around. And if you've got smaller kids and occasionally need that third row, having the option, even if tight, is a practical bonus. But for sheer ease of loading, everyday use, and better real-world cargo space layout, the CR-V is the one I'd rather pack up on a regular basis. It's just simpler and smarter. If we're calling it like it is, the 2025 Honda CR-V is the more well-rounded, refined SUV, and the objective winner here. It's better on gas, smoother to drive, easier to load, and just more comfortable for everyday family use. Honda nailed the fundamentals: spacious rear seats, great cargo layout, user-friendly tech, and a smart, efficient engine that won't make you wince at the pump. Add in Honda's bulletproof resale value and track record for reliability, and you've got a crossover that earns its place in thousands of driveways for good reason. The Mitsubishi Outlander throws a few solid punches, especially with that usable, but tight, third row and standout 10-year powertrain warranty. But it's not enough to dethrone the CR-V. It's heavier, thirstier, and less refined in daily driving. Great value, sure, but the CR-V just feels more polished everywhere that counts. So if you're buying with your head, not just your eyes, the CR-V's the smarter pick for most families.